Hello everyone, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake. We didn't kill ourselves!
No, then this is the Bible Reloaded. Sorry, we took a week off. Anyway, we're back to do part 2 of Torchbearer. If you didn't watch the first part, there's a link to it above my head somewhere, provided I remembered to place it there.
Right. And if you didn't watch part 1, you're not gonna know what's going on, so definitely do that first.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Returning, peeps. Here we go.
Out of the hyper-rationalism of the French Revolution, the worship of science becomes our new religion.
Yeah, we know science is religion. That goes without saying. What I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna leave the rest of this propaganda bullshit to Hugo real quick, because I don't have the fucking patience for it. But I just wanted you to know that rationalism, or in this case hyper-rationalism, basically means use reason as a chief source to run your life, like a thinking human person. So, Hugo, would you like to add to that? Because I'm gonna sit back because I can't do it.
Okay, I want everyone to notice the paradigm that they've set up here at the beginning of this second part. In part 1, they established, according to them, the only way for a civilization to truly flourish is by placing God, specifically the Christian God, at the center. By painting us as a society with science at its center instead of God, you've just promoted science to God's enemy number 1, which might be handy if you're an administration trying to promote policies that benefit fossil fuel companies, for instance. It sure would help pass bills favoring the deregulation of these industries if the population at large saw anyone using science to explain the damages of global warming as just an agent of the anti-Christian conspiracy all of us atheists are clearly a part of. Meetings are every other Tuesday at the rec center. If you want free donuts, probably church is for you. You gotta bring your own shit.
The great minds of the era preached the gospel of science. All humanity's ills can be cured by science.
And as we all know, they were all wrong, and the 20th century produced no science of note that any of us use today.
I don't think scientists, or science for that matter, ever claims to cure all of people's ills, but I think if anything, science's greatest claim is that it will always try to find the answer to as many questions as it can. It doesn't have to be religion, creed, or bias. If science is anything, it's heartbreakingly objective. It doesn't care what we want, it gives us the truth, even if we don't like it. For example, science led us to the humbling conclusion that we're insignificant in the universe. We don't even matter a little bit in the broad scope. Hell, we barely matter on the fine scope. Billions of nameless people will die over the course of humanity, and someday, no human will exist, and even the remembered names will be forgotten.
Well, that's, pretty fucking depressing.
Think of it, like, every moment of your existence is you creeping closer and closer to non-existence. What is that?
This is, a thing of dry silica gel. I don't know what'll happen if I eat the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure I won't be alive anymore, so.
Okay, but, alright,
Does anyone have a pokey thing? I need a pokey thing.
Nothing you do or have done will matter as the universe expands so far and so fast that eventually nothing exists. Literally nothing. Please smash the like button if you agree.
Julius Robert Oppenheimer, also known as the father of the atomic bomb, armed with his Geiger counter, reading the Hindu holy text, he and his fellow high priest toiled away in the deserts of New Mexico, making the first weapon of mass destruction.
Notice they make sure Robertson mentions the Hindu holy text line in regard to Oppenheimer. Now, I'm sure at some point or another you've heard the story about the first successful atomic test and Oppenheimer's famous quote, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." That quote comes from the Bhagavad Gita, a Hindu holy text. The movie seems to make a point of making sure the audience knows Oppenheimer was familiar with the Gita for some reason, despite the fact he himself was not a Hindu, though they don't make that clear. If you asked me, it sure seems like they're trying to somehow connect the idea of nuclear destruction with non-Christian religions. But who would do such a thing?
He named his test bomb Trinity after a poem about Jesus' resurrection.
Okay, I suppose the argument here is that science is a destructive force because the bomb was invented. I could cite things like the TV, cameras, microphones, internet, computers, and duck calls that science gave us as proof of its utility, but I think a more damning indictment of Phil's argument here is that the God he's advocating for, the one he counters would not destroy the world, has literally destroyed all life on Earth, and promises to do so again according to Revelation. Choosing God in this exchange is like actively seeking out Bill Cosby at a bar.
No, Jake, didn't you hear there was a mistrial? He's innocent now.
He's innocent!
Yeah, can't make those jokes anymore.
OJ was innocent too, except for that one time. And the other times.
So, fallen man, unanchored by God, uses the power of creation to destroy. Mechanized war is upon us.
But the thing is, your argument only works if most people in the 1940s were atheists. And they weren't. The vast majority of the people in the USA, as well as the rest of the Western world, were Christian. So even if the people who were working on the Manhattan Project were all evil atheists who literally wanted to destroy the world, which they weren't, the people who funded them and told them to go into the desert and start blowing shit up were almost certainly people of faith. Everyone is stupid enough to want to blow people up. Scientists are just better at it than most people.
I mean, you could argue that this is all God's fault because he allows his creations not only to conceive of and carry out war, but also lean heavily on science because he refuses to directly interfere with the goings-on of the sentient hairless apes he allows to inhabit this fucking rock. How does a loving God allow this? That was supposed to be like some fucking, like an ugly hairless, like, homeless person, like with a hair lip or something?
Correct.
Dude, what the
Perhaps no philosopher had a greater impact on the 20th century than Friedrich Nietzsche. In his nihilistic view, life had no meaning and no intrinsic worth.
Okay, let's discuss that. Nihilism is an interesting worldview because if you're an atheist, it's technically true if enough time passes. I know I made a joke earlier about it and it was very funny, but as you can see, Hugo isn't actually dead. But I digress. In my humble opinion, life does have meaning, but no two lives have the same exact meaning. In Christianity, Islam, Judaism, etc., all lives have the single same worth. They are worshippers to the thing that made them, and any less than that becomes worthless to the point of discardment in the burning pits of hell for literal eternity. Some people find meaning in that, and that's cool, whatever, do you. But to me, having an individual reason for existence, even though it's finite and soon forgotten, is far more valuable to anything a god could provide. It's the economics of existence, really. If I exist for only a short amount of time, then the value of that existence is extremely high. An eternal existence, though? That's about as worthless as, I don't know, blobfish. I mean, look at that fucking thing. I mean, it's horrible. It's just a blob, and I'm glad they die when you bring them up from the surface.
Shh, he doesn't have to know.
It's fucking gross.
In other words, the man with the biggest stick determines who lives and who dies. When Nietzsche famously declared that God is dead, all hell broke loose.
Alright, Nietzsche first said that in 1882 in his book The Joyful Pursuit of Knowledge and Understanding, but most associate it with "Thus spoke Zarathustra." Anyway, the worst thing I could find in 1882 was the Anglo-Egyptian War and the deaths of people like Jesse James, the outlaw, Mary Todd Lincoln, Abe's widow, and Charles Darwin, which I would assume would be celebrated by Beardy McIsis, but guess that doesn't serve your old narrative, does it?
And the end result is this place, Auschwitz.
Okay, yeah, Auschwitz was Nietzsche's fault. Everyone knows that. But Phil said Auschwitz really weird here. Will you play that back a couple times? It's super weird.
Auschwitz, Auschwitz, Auschwitz.
I think he's getting strokey.
Okay, no, wait. I'm stopping this bit. Nietzsche didn't have anything to do with Auschwitz.
I'm pretty sure he did.
No, I'm pretty sure Nietzsche's the moon landing guy. You're thinking of Lee Harvey Oswald.
No, I thought Lee Harvey Oswald was the chemtrail guy.
Sorry, I stopped listening. I'm buying a new water filtration system from InfoWars.
Oh, hey, while you're there, will you get me some new DNA Force? It's 20% off right now. And
yeah, no.
I ran out.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.
Thanks, friend. Anyway, back to the review, guys.
There was no freedom here. Only death.
Guys, did you know Nazis are bad? And those guys over there, they're like Nazis. Treat them like Nazis. See, if I do that, it's weird, but you stretch it out into some fucking B-roll at Auschwitz and throw in some Captain Al-Qaeda here and you people buy this shit. I don't get it. They literally then just spend 2.5 minutes explaining how the Nazis came to power and that they don't like Jewish people, much of which is accompanied by video of Nazis killing people, more concentration camp stuff, and any scary things that they can think of, because remember, if your audience is scared, they aren't thinking rationally and they'll come to you for answers. And oh boy, this movie has some answers.
But how to go about exterminating an entire race of people? The Nazis approached this question with scientific precision, as if working out a problem of civic and mechanical engineering.
Because to them, it was. You can act all appalled all you want, but to them, it was just a job of engineering an effective facility for their needs. Is it shocking that people would go about assembly line genocide so casually? Yes, which is why, you're spending so much time trying to draw comparisons between your detractors and Nazis. Everyone sees what you're doing. You're trying to brand people who disagree with you with the same way as a group that committed the most shocking and remembered crime of the 20th century. Also, you wore camo to Auschwitz. Fuck you.
And some argue that there's not a hell. Oh, I'm standing in hell.
So hell is a tourist attraction now. That explains the Ark encounter so much.
They then spend an additional 3 minutes describing the deaths at concentration camps, the numbers, how they were buried or otherwise disposed of, all of course over footage of bodies being buried in mass graves. Oh boy, you sure got me with that one, guys. Yep, the Holocaust happened. That means God's real.
They had the earthly high ground. No question. They thought that was enough. But the Allied forces that came from the sea, led by the United States of America, they had the moral high ground.
I mean, while I obviously sit on team allies in World War II and not with the Nazis, we did vaporize 226,000 Japanese people, most of which were non-combatants, like 14 months later. Not as bad as a genocide. Not as good as, like, making peace.
These American men carried the fate of civilization on their shoulders. If they had lost this day, what corner of the world would have been safe from the evil of Nazism?
This makes it sound like Normandy and the rest of the military actions on D-Day were the only hope for the Allies or the Nazis' win. While it's true that Operation Overlord was a huge operation that was extremely critical, and Operation Bodyguard was integral in protecting the exact location of Operation Neptune, known as D-Day, and helped stretch the Nazi forces thin along the entire coastline, it's hard to imagine the Nazis being long-term viable, given the United States' relatively recent involvement and the extreme amount of resources it took Germany to even get to that point. And that's totally worth debating, though, and I wouldn't be at all disappointed if you guys turned my comment section into a debate about the efficacy of Project Overlord in 1944, and frankly, that would make me squirt just a whole bunch. And Hugo's into that, so, like, you'd be doing our friendship a favor.
I bought the rubber sheets for a reason.
They make me sweat, but it's worth it.
By the grace of God and their own courage and determination, they won.
Apparently, God's grace extends to allow exactly 209,000 casualties on the side on the moral high ground, in case anyone's curious.
The Nazi SS guards who worked here, they were convinced they were justified. They were just following orders. They weren't breaking any laws here because the law of the land, declared that these people had no worth.
Here we go again with this idea of a man deciding his own self-worth versus God determining man's worth. When you get into this argument, all you're doing is shifting it from man determining man's worth to man determining which God determines man's worth. People will still pick and choose their own morality. They'll just decide the morality and God's morality that they pick are the same. Or are you under the impression there weren't Christian Nazis? Because in 1939, 94% of the population self-identified as some form of Christian. That would make the vast majority of Nazis Christians.
But Hugo, that would mean Christians did the genocide of the Jews.
It's almost like people are pieces of shit no matter what, and religion and your morality are not intrinsically linked, despite what people may tell you.
Okay, now I'm just turned on.
Because of that noise, this video has no monetization now.
These people had no worth. Not even the children.
So I guess Phil thinks that because Nazis, Christianity good. Is that the math I'm picking up here? I feel like we're skipping over the part where God allows Nazis. It's exactly as responsible as handing a toddler a loaded gun and then getting angry when he suddenly kills 6 million Jews. It was bound to happen.
If you live by the utilitarian belief in the greatest good for the greatest number of people, what happens when the majority decides it's the greatest good to kill all the Jews?
All the Jews die.
The Allies convened a tribunal at Nuremberg because humanity cried out for justice.
You realize you're proving the opposite of your point, though, right? You literally just said if a majority of people want the Jews dead, they'll die, and that's bad. Then followed it up by saying, and then the world disagreed with Germany, so we stopped them. Guess what? Unfortunately, sometimes it does come down to the guy with the bigger stick. The Allies had the biggest stick. None of this implies divine anything. Your argument for the last 12 minutes is World War II happened.
He was entirely unmoved and unapologetic. He wrote that his only regret in life was that he didn't spend more time with his family. Even this cold-blooded mass murderer couldn't fully embrace nihilism.
Notice the intrinsic implication here that Nazis were in fact nihilists. They were not. In fact, nihilism and Nazism are in direct conflict in many ways. The propaganda film is an exercise in figuring out how many scary buzzwords they can associate with non-Christians.
Jesus fucking Christ. This is exactly like arguing with Hugo about Hot Pocket flavors. It's just totally pointless.
And furthermore, I don't think the lean pockets even count. Diarrhea is not a diet plan, okay? Doesn't count.
I think the lean pockets are better because you don't... Sure, you might get diarrhea, okay? But there's fewer calories, fewer fat. Also, the ham and cheese is superior. I don't know. And the only thing that I will grant you, lean pocket pepperoni is not great.
I'd rather eat the diarrhea. Wow, Family Guy-esque cutaway gags. This show is really going to shit, isn't it?
When it came to his own children, he saw that life wasn't worthless. Auschwitz was nihilism in action.
If you were really a nihilist, though, you wouldn't be down with the whole Aryan thing, or most of the goals of the Nazis, because their goals only make sense from within a framework that gives value and meaning to certain qualities, whether that be race or nationality. Oh, sorry, I forgot nihilism isn't a real thing to you, it's just a word you get to use to scare people. Ooh.
But no one can live as if all life is worthless and nothing matters.
You're still not getting this right. Okay, let's put this in terms you can understand. So the Germans had a duck call, and the Jews had a duck call, but the Jews' duck call was made by the leading competitor. The Germans saw this inferior duck call as a blemish on the face of a nation with superior duck calls, so they exterminated the inferior duck calls with brutal efficiency.
You literally just added the word duck calls onto the actual history.
Okay, Hugo, quiet down for a second. I was a student teacher for a semester 3 years ago. This is kind of my wheelhouse.
If all it takes is 3 months of doing a thing, then that makes cocaine benders my wheelhouse. That's all I'm saying.
1963, April. Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to one of the most segregated cities in America.
Into this charged environment, a judge issued an order prohibiting blacks from peacefully demonstrating.
Aw, Phil, you like the blacks too? Same. What a lovely people, the blacks. I mean, they play basketball. There's watermelon. Black Twitter is just a great thing. Stay woke. Is it racist yet?
You didn't say fam, so no. They talk about a court order a judge signed saying it was illegal for civil rights advocates to stage sit-ins at white-only establishments. After that, area church leaders wrote a letter compelling the black community to basically stick with the status quo and just be happy with Jim Crow laws. The movie then goes on to recite Martin Luther King Jr.'s retort to the letter, which is of course well written, but again, the movie is missing the fact that it's undercutting its own points. It wasn't the Bible that steered civil rights. The church leaders, you even admit, were fine with the status quo. It was a man who helped steer the course of history towards equality, not God. It was a man with the biggest stick. But here's the thing Steve Bannon doesn't tell you. Stick doesn't have to mean guns and bombs and concentration camps. In this case, the stick was words, speeches, and ideas. Bannon and Robertson want a world governed by authority granted by religious text because they feel they can use that to their advantage. They don't want the biggest stick to win because in the real world, the biggest stick is the truth. It's reality, and Bannon's ideologies are a fucking wiffle ball compared to that goddamn stick.
Underneath it all was the implicit understanding that human rights do, in fact, come from God. And the human heart cries out for justice no matter where it is.
I would agree that Dr. King, being a reverend, probably agrees with you that human rights come from God. That said, the Declaration of Independence states clearly that all men are created equal and that it is endowed to them by their creator, which is important because it doesn't say the name of a specific god. Creator can be interpreted plenty of different ways, could easily include the universe, nature, earth, or a different god altogether, like a Vishnu or Odin. On top of that, the First Amendment states that we can't make a law establishing religion, so the rights of men and women in the United States come from the state, not from a deity. I know you bitched about this in part 1 of this review, but I think it'd be in your best interest to at least read the Constitution before talking about this shit. It's comforting to know that nobody involved with the making of this film holds a high office in our secular government. That would be awful.
We're gonna make that. I know I've already made that joke like 3 times. I'm gonna keep making it. Because don't forget, this motherfucker is the chief strategist. He's the guy who does the plans.
Here on an early Sunday morning in September 1963, the Ku Klux Klan planted a bomb under the church steps, killing 4 little girls and injuring 22 others.
The Ku Klux Klan, you mean the organization that's entire identity is built around preserving a white Christian identity? It's almost like some people are just evil motherfuckers regardless of their religion.
One may argue due to their religion. But that wouldn't be me. No, sir.
From the guillotine to the gas chamber to the gulag, the story is the same. When you take out God as the anchor of your civilization, you open the door to tyranny. Instead of human rights, you have the will to power of the ruler who makes himself the sole determiner of what is true and just.
Phil's pretending that every secular society ends up with a Hitler. Meanwhile, in Sweden...
Välkommen till stället där water bottle flip är som störst.
Det är en speciell grej som man ska göra om man klarar det.
Kan du inte visa hur det ser ut?
Okej.
You know, I don't know a lot about Swedish stuff. Looks alright. I've been to IKEA before, though. They're Swedish, right? They have shrimp and egg sandwiches. That's weird. But I'm on board with that. That's what real freedom is.
They had me at Swedish Chef. That's the Muppet that goes Borgador, Dorgador.
It's not even a joke. You're just really excited about the Muppet. Okay.
When God is eliminated, human beings are no longer image bearers. We are nothing more than the masses. just objects among other objects, to be manipulated by the most powerful in society who declare themselves God and assign worth.
Okay, so don't do that. I've been an atheist for at least 8 years, I think now. So far, I haven't wanted to kill or hurt anyone. And if I saw someone doing those things, I would do my best to stop it. Pretty simple. It's not, are you a monster? I genuinely don't understand why you have to be reminded why people don't want to fucking murder people.
It's a Coors Light.
It's a water bottle.
Oh, that's Optimus Prime, not the Coors Mountains.
Optimus Prime isn't beer. I guess he could be if he wanted. Because the robot's in disguise. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Our founders understood this. They gave our government checks and balances, a free press, other branches of government, an independent judicial system.
And they made sure not to include a state-sponsored religion, but that fact is inconvenient for our propaganda. Don't tell them.
The communists learned this the hard way. When they tried to keep God from his people rose up. And eventually, they toppled the godless tyrants.
Yep, that's a century of Russian history in 3 seconds. Nailing it.
Does Phil know that the Berlin Wall falling had nothing to do with Christianity at all? Like, everyone knows why it happened, right? It was 100% David Hasselhoff.
I haven't seen enough Knight Rider to know what you're saying is not true.
That's why we're friends. You haven't seen enough Knight Rider.
But many believe we should no longer be under God. We have poll-driven morality now. We're told the majority of Americans believe this or they believe that. Therefore, it must be good and true.
We live in a representative democracy in which the power of the government comes from the consent of the governed. So, there's a reason popular opinion is important. It's the foundation of our entire democracy.
You're real thirsty today.
Oh, I'm not cutting yet.
Oh, okay.
All right, now I'm done.
As if majority opinion was a reliable indicator.
He says, while holding the majority opinion religion in the country with the most power from a business that has made him a billionaire from the soapbox laid there by Steve Bannon, who is one of the president's most trusted allies. Now I'm not cutting.
Also, the Jews are definitely undermining Germany's post-Great War banking industry, in case you guys don't know.
We might not believe in God anymore, but we still feel a sentimental need to be nice to each other.
I'm not nice to people because it's sentimental. I'm nice because I'm not a fucking cunt. If you need to be reminded to be nice, no amount of religion is gonna help you not be a cunt, because you're a fucking cunt.
Of course, there was no one more sentimental than the hippies. Well, what started out as free love and flowers in your hair ended up with the Manson murders. A group of acid-dropping hippies went on a murder spree because a man who declared himself God told them to.
Apparently, 12 insane people speak for the entire population of hippies. Good to know that same logic applies to Christians now, Phil. So in the spirit of that, here's some awful Christian groups. Army of God, Eastern Lightning, aka the Church of the Almighty God, the Lord's Resistance Army, the National Liberation Front of Tripura, the Phineas Priesthood, and the Concerned Christians, which actually has sort of like a, almost sounds like a mom group, like a book club, but actually the terrorists.
It can be both. Oh, Susan, can you pick up Danny from Bible study? I gotta go bomb a book depository. I don't know.
Rolls a soccer ball filled with pipe bombs into the depository. Nice.
They try to be terrorists, but the only activities they can think of are putting gluten into non-gluten things. And
then there's just a bunch of people shitting their brains out in the greater metropolitan area of Portland.
Joke's on you, that chicken cutlet wasn't locally sourced. I got it at a Walmart.
Remember the social Darwinists? They're still around. Today, they couch their arguments in the language of compassion, using words like quality of life to decide who would be better off dead.
Oh, I had a picture of the grossest, most fucked up, malformed baby all queued up and ready to gross you people out. But, unfortunately, I am not a propagandist, and I don't feel the need to shock you into compliance with my views. If you don't understand how quality of life concerns could lead someone to terminate a pregnancy, you're a fucking monster, and I don't want to convince you otherwise. I don't want to be near you. Go away.
Turning away from God, we turn inward. Why should the suffering of anyone make a moral demand on me if there is no ground for morality? If there's no God, what difference does it make if you're a mass murderer or a saint?
No, my morality is based in empathy and caring for others. I want to help others, and I'm open to adapt to new situations. You want gay people to all fuck off because you believe that's what God wants. Which moral standard do you think will end up helping more people? The one that's able to adapt to change over time? Or the one that is set in stone, written 2,000 years ago or older, and tells large groups of people to basically fuck off? Nah, you're right, probably this one.
Live for yourself. Take care of yourself. You decide right and wrong. You are your own God.
Saying atheists don't have a god, so they make themselves a god, is like when people ask a gay couple which one of them is the woman. Neither. And no, I didn't replace the idea with an infallible God with an infallible me. I just stopped believing in infallibility. We're all just people, doing our best, making mistakes, trying to do better next time, or in Bannon's case, just a life form out there floating on a rock in space, trying to get as much alcohol as you can get your fat little hands on. I respect that.
Okay, so for the next, 2-3 minutes, it's just going to be a montage of extreme violence, like with ISIS and Hitler and shit. I guarantee YouTube will shut our shit down if we even try to show you that. So instead, let's just enjoy this short film about a dog sitting on a bed doing basically nothing, and dramatic music playing behind it. What do you think he's thinking?
Family-friendly content! Seriously though, YouTube, can we have the ads back now? I'm eating lean pockets. It's not good. The movie has spent about an hour building its narrative, painting Robertson as a moral Christian man, the media as a tool of the secular left, the Greeks and Romans as a blueprint for Western democracy, having been struck down for their persecution of Christians, painting the Reign of Terror as an atheist-led bloodbath through France, leading to Napoleon, Hitler, and eventually the Holocaust. If narrative is a roller coaster, we're right at the top of the drop. The build-up to the climax. Bannon then shows 3 straight minutes, like Jake's described, of people being murdered, Holocaust footage, beheadings, guys getting run over by tanks, all with news narration about Christians being murdered in droves, and the word Christian Holocaust is used at least once. See, a propaganda piece like Torchbearer is most effective if you can make an audience think they're coming to conclusions on their own instead of outright telling them something. The movie is a piece with seemingly disparate pieces of information that when put together in montage comes together to paint a picture that says one thing to Christians, or at least the specific super right-wing Duck Dynasty style anti-gay Christians. Everyone is trying to kill you. You are about to be killed like the Jews in Auschwitz. You need to go out and read your Bible, listen to your pastor, and vote for the Republican politicians who follow the Bible like you if you don't want to be horribly murdered with everyone you love. It tears you all the way down so it can provide you with an answer to pick yourself back up.
Most importantly, I brought my Bible. Okay?
Luckily, this kind of scare tactic would only be helpful to politicians if restrictions on talking politics from the pulpit were loosened. Oh wait, the Trump administration, of which Bannon is the chief strategist, did just loosen restrictions on churches being able to endorse political candidates? What a fortuitous coincidence for Bannon!
That is the message of God becoming flesh 2,015 years ago. Your calendar documents it. That's the message that 3 days later, when they buried him, they had killed him. God raised him from the dead.
No. No, Phil. If you're going to get one of your claims right, it should have been this. Every single source, even Christian sources, point to Jesus' death between 30 and 36 AD. It feels like semantics to point out most of the time. But the fact that you can't even get this right, considering it's the entire reason for this propaganda, is fucking disappointing. You disgust me. You disgust me.
So the movie ends with Robertson baptizing people. And then Trump won and Bannon is helping destroy the country. Anyway, so, that's Torchbearer. It wasn't good.
It was not good. It was, this is worse than anything we've ever watched. This is by far the worst one. And I'm really sad that we watched the trailer so that you people wanted it, because now I had to actually watch the film. It's, whew.
You know why this one is the worst for me personally? And I mean it. Sometimes we say the worst and we're like, oh, this was the worst. This was the worst. You know why? Because usually I can say to myself, do I even have any of the other movies in here? No. But even with the Cristiano Brothers ones, I can say to myself, I disagree with them, but I'm not 100% positive this is all just a scam and it's a means to an end.
Yeah.
I'm at least on the fence there, where I'm like, sure, they're using it to make money and spread a message, but I do think they believe the stuff they're saying. This film, I don't believe for a single fucking second Steve Bannon believes a word coming out of this. He thinks his audience are idiots, and he is a smart person who can manipulate his audience. Not for a second do I believe that fat, alcoholic piece of shit meant a single word of this. I think he's a ethno-nationalist piece of shit. And the sooner that motherfucker gets away from any kind of power, the better. And by the way, if anyone's like a Trump supporter or whatever out there, but also an atheist, be aware, this is the administration. This is the administration. The people who made this film.
It's not just Bannon either.
No.
There's other people in there that agree with Bannon, that want to do this. And like Bannon's written essays about tearing apart like the structure of our government and how it is, and intentionally putting people in charge of the different departments that wouldn't benefit those at all.
Oh, gee, almost like exactly what's happening in the government. It's almost like Bannon doesn't like it and wants it to fail.
Crazy.
I'd rather America not fail. I live here, so...
If you voted for Trump, cool for you, man. I'm happy that you think you got your guy, but you probably really disagree with him and his administration, but you were just too fucking caught up to want to admit it or to notice. And that's fine. I'm just saying. Do some more thinking on that. But anyways, as far as Phil's role in this, I do think he believes a lot of this shit.
Oh, probably.
He's real preachy. All of them are like this. Well, at least most of them. I think the younger kids, some of those seem pretty liberal. I was looking on Twitter because I actually did try to get Phil to block me on Twitter for that bit in part one. He's never on Twitter though. It doesn't matter. I actually just said, hey, please block me. Didn't work. But there was links to the younger ones, and a lot of them, like there's a white guy, I think he raps, but he's part of the Robertson family. And then there's some people like on their social medias, it seems like they're not totally aligning. So it's kind of weird. That family is very interesting. But Phil is, I can't think of a worse thing than getting dipped into a dirty river by Phil Robertson, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone out there, seriously. I know this is a review and it is informative and there's comedy in it. Seriously though, the people who are okay with lying this much, we had to do 2 parts to this. How long is this recording so far? Let's see. Hour 11 minutes. So this review will also probably come out to almost an hour, about like the other one, maybe 40 minutes or something like that. So we've almost spent 2 hours dissecting the lies from one movie made by the chief strategist of the current White House administration. So anytime the White House, and this doesn't have to be about party or party lines, the people in this White House are fucking liars, as proven by this movie. Don't trust shit that comes out of that place. Scrutinize it. And if true things are true, that's great. But don't just take it at face value. Anyway.
Because it's literally strategized by a propaganda machine I'm just saying. Anyways, that's it. If you have any other movies that you want us to review, let us know down in the comments. If you're mad about the fact that we don't support Donald Trump, that's fine. Tell us. Tell us how mad you are. Smash the like button with your anger boner.
So I guess that's it. You can always follow us on Twitter at Bible Reloaded.
You follow Hugo at Hugo Reloaded. You can also subscribe to the channel and get more movie reviews. We will have some interesting new content coming soon. In like the next week, month, so sort of area.
Yeah, you can always also subscribe over at Unpopular Culture, where we do kind of more normal movie, TV, games news. You can
not nearly as angry over there.
You can always donate to our Patreon campaign, which we mentioned like a couple times in the review. Guess that's
anyway.
It. So until next time, I'm Hugo.
Don't make us do this again.
If we have to make a fucking part 3 where it turns out this whole goddamn thing was a Russian money laundering thing, I'm gonna be really pissed off because I don't want to watch this goddamn movie again and point out the fucking 7 Russian spies in the backgrounds like the goddamn fucking key grip is fucking Boris Yeltsin. I don't have time for this shit.
Hello. You people know a lot about trucks. Bing, 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 bong. China. Bing, bing, bong. Obamacare. Bing, 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 bong, 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 bong. Get those lights off. Bing, 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 bing. China. Bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. Turn off the lights. I'm really rich. Bing, bing, bong. $1 million. Bing, bing, bong. It's Rubio. Bing, 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 bong. Bong, 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 bong. And by the way, bing, 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 bing. I love China. Bing, bing, bong, bong. Bing, 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 bong. How can you not love China?